Okay, checking in with chapters 43 to 50 of He Knew He Was Right by Anthony Trollope, a 1869 novel where a jealous husband is at odds with his wife, estranged because a family friend, a rake, General Osborne, insists on seeing her, and when he tells her not to see her, she gets really up on her thing, and because he is so jealous and she is so much, I have to have my own way and will not give way on thing, they basically break apart. Um, so I bring that up at the start because in this novel that's theoretically about this main couple, Trollope seems to be doing everything he can to have other couples there. It does really feel like he's demoted the main couple of this thing to a definite B plot. It's the context in which all the other stories are happening. Indeed, in this one, we've got Osborne insists on coming to visit, trying to visit the house where Emily Trevane is at, the outhouse, the Reverend Outhouse's house where she is staying. Outhouse being a uncle of one of her uncles, very kind of a poor uncle, staying there, grudgingly accepting the financial payoff from the husband to keep her there. Osborne insists on coming to say, "Oh, I really care about how she's doing," basically because he just wants to keep his freaking oar in. Outhouse is like, "You really should not have come, and you're not going to see her, and you should really go away and not bother us anymore." And what we find is that Louis Trevane, while he's in Venice, but his only friend now, the only person he thinks as his friend, is Buzzle, this police detective who, you know, partly because of profession, partly because of self-interest, is all about how you can't trust women and you need me to kind of keep on investigating. And he, of course, notes, he records that Osborne has been to the house. This really pisses off and enrages Trevane, who writes to Outhouse and basically says that he's a shame and stuff like that, and that he shouldn't be doing this, and that he's going to start legal action to get his boy away from his wife. And indeed writes a letter to his lawyer, who says, if you're going to do anything like that, you need to be back in London, and who knows what that would entail, but basically trying to really throw as much cold water on this as possible. At which point Trevane goes like, "Oh, well, obviously you've been corrupted as well, probably by you, Stanbury. Everyone's against me. The only one who I have as a friend is Basil." And yeah, is complete. Yeah, they're really just completely screwed. And just not really a pleasant bunch to be around, and you have trouble kind of having human investment in them. So yeah, that is a very small, though that is the very smallest part of this story. Most of this is taken up with stuff about Dorothy Stanbury and her rejecting this Reverend Gibson that her aunt, Miss Stanbury, had kind of put forward, and the repercussions of this, because Gibson let slip to the French sisters that she didn't reject me, I rejected her. Just to basically try and save his own face. Of course, they start spreading that story around, at which point Miss Stanbury shows up and slaps them down for that. He has the great unfortune of showing up at the house as this is going on, and has to sort of agree, yes, that's the case, and then ends up deciding he's going to marry one of the French sisters, except he's not going to marry the older one who had been trying to desperately to catch him, but Arabella, but instead goes for Camilla. And indeed, at the comedic at the end of this, Camilla is kind of taken him in hand and is it's like, oh, maybe we'll have. He's like, oh, maybe we'll have it like next summer. He's saying like this is like in the fall of the previous year, and she's like, no, 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 we're not gonna wait that long, and kind of snaps him down, and we've got it set for March, and he's like, maybe I shouldn't have gone for this. It seems like she's very kind of taking me in hand. It's like, what a dope. Um, Interesting. Brooke Burgess, I think it is, who is the family of is kind of the eligible member of the family that Miss Stanbury, the widow, inherited all her money from, the guy who was theoretically going to give it to her, his side of the family. And she's always stated like, oh, I'm gonna, when I pass on, it's gonna go back to that family because that's how it should be fairly. She's not gonna give it to her own family. But Brooke is interested in Dorothy, and indeed he has a conversation with you, Stanbury, saying like, yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I'm gonna propose to your sister. And he's like, whoa, wow, she's got a bunch of suitors. I wouldn't have put it forward. And indeed, she is the youngest and most timid member of the family, and was always expected she was going to be the kind of the poor as a church mouse member. But now it looks like, as Hugh notes, is like, she's actually going to be the top, going to probably inherit all that money along with Brooke, and do quite well. So that would be a little bit of a reversal there. We also have stuff with another one of the one of Nora's suitors, which was this young lord who, is it C.G. Gilmer? I can't even remember his freaking name right now. But just another thing, and he's off in, I think it's France, and he's got these American sisters who are interested in him, and they've got a minister father, and there's a long sequence here which is like, oh, the American minister father had spent a lot of his political career railing against the English and saying like, it'd be better if we went to war against them, and that we'd beat them and it would be great for us and stuff like that. But now that there's the prospect of one of his daughters maybe hooking up with this great great lord, he's like, actually, we could be great friends, and we're going to marry them off. So it's like, it's interesting how the political can flip when you've got personal gain there, and there's a lot of the kind of it's the English making fun of the Americans, which you know some of it's like fair criticism. Other parts of it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's an English author who's kind of getting his digs in on hypocritical wild Americans. It's interesting, the wild American who apparently thinks that like Canada would still have to be slightly civilized because it's far too tainted with the British colonial mindset at this point before it could become a proper member of the United States, which is hilarious, though is very British, probably more British than British at this point, at least in the probably more ruling classes of Upper Canada and stuff like that at this point. But yeah, so I'm still again struck by how little of the story is about this core thing of he knew he was right. He's freaking kind of insanely jealous, alienated from all his friends. It's just miserable. It's kind of a bad core to have at the center of this novel. I guess we'll have to think about how this kind of plays off of all the other stories here, and what that maybe has to say about the central story, or does it play off of? We've had Dorothy and we've had Nora both kind of go, I don't want to marry this person, I want to marry this person, even is. And there is indeed something I guess you could say about Emily, who is not a very appealing character, who wants everything her own way, where she's snapped up someone who was financially and kind of socially advantageous for her, without particularly considering whether he was going to be personally compatible with her, which, boy, they are just not personally compatible together. So this may be just a more of a kicking lesson to the unhappy couple at the center of, here are these happy couples at the sides who actually kind of waited and turned down the super rich guys and as thus were rewarded by it, which is, I guess, how I can take it at the moment. Yeah, yeah, so that is where I am with He Knew He Was Right. About halfway done, because I want to be done to chapter 60 for the next weekend, to kind of keep on my reading pace, and I can go from there. I guess. Well, I also need to start Edgar Rice Burroughs, because I want to read that by the end of the month, and I've still got dinner in the local Coward Gun Club, small game hunting at the local Coward Gun Club by Megan Gale Cole, which I want to get done as well, because I know if I don't kind of keep myself pressed on that, it will drift away. And we just had a really good chapter of that. But then, see, now I'm updating all my reading all at once for this month. All right, I'll stop there and we can chat a little bit later after my bath. Bye for now.